Today, we're going on a magical journey through time, exploring the 5 most important buildings mentioned in the Bible and their connection to history and science. Get ready to discover these incredible buildings from the ancient world. The last one on the list will certainly surprise you: Noah's Ark. Noah was given what seemed to be an impossible task in the eyes of humanity. In a world consumed by violence and corruption, God decided to put an end to this wickedness, choosing Noah to preserve creation. The command was clear: build a colossal ark made of gopher wood, sealed with pitch, strong enough to withstand the fury of the waters that were to come. Its dimensions were staggering: 135 meters in length, 23 meters in width, and 14 meters in height, comparable to a modern-day ship. Noah worked tirelessly, following every detail the Creator had ordained, while the world around him mocked his faith. The story of Noah's Ark is often questioned, but geological records suggest that a great flood may have indeed occurred in the Mesopotamian region. Layers of sediment and evidence of sudden flooding in the valleys of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers point to a catastrophic event that may have been etched into the memories of ancient civilizations. Flood myths appear in various cultures around the world, reinforcing the possibility of a real event that inspired the biblical account. One of the greatest mysteries surrounding the Ark is its supposed location. In 1959, a Turkish pilot identified a boat-shaped structure on Mount Ararat in Turkey. Since then, expeditions and studies have been conducted, with some suggesting that the rock formation could be the fossilized remains of the vessel. However, science has yet to definitively confirm this hypothesis, leaving the debate between skeptics and scholars unresolved. More than just a physical structure, the Ark symbolizes divine protection and deliverance from destruction. Noah trusted in God despite the lack of visible proof, becoming an eternal example of faith. The story of the Ark continues to inspire generations, reminding us that in the midst of life's storms, obedience and trust in God are the true path to salvation. If you're enjoying this content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Now, back to the video. The Tower of Babel time passed, and humanity rose once again. But even after a fresh start, pride soon took hold of their hearts. The descendants of Noah, still united by a single language, settled in the plain of Shinar in Mesopotamia. There, they decided to build an imposing tower that would reach the heavens. They did not want to be scattered. They did not want to rely on God. In their arrogance, they believed they could control their own fate. The story of the Tower of Babel may be linked to the massive constructions of Mesopotamia, the ziggurats. These stepped structures, made from terracotta bricks and pitch, symbolize the connection between heaven and earth. They were religious temples and administrative centers, standing as monuments to human power. The resemblance to the biblical account suggests that the Tower of Babel might have been inspired by these monuments. Among the ziggurats, the Atemen Anki stands out, a Babylonian temple dedicated to the god Marduk. Standing about 90 meters tall, it was described as the house that unites heaven and earth, aligning with the biblical idea of the tower. Inscriptions reveal that its construction required immense resources and labor, reinforcing the hypothesis that the Babel event has historical roots. But God saw humanity's arrogance and intervened. Suddenly, the one language was fragmented into many. Chaos ensued. Workers no longer understood commands, leaders could not communicate, and the tower, once a symbol of grandeur, became a monument to human failure. Unable to continue the work, the people scattered, unintentionally fulfilling the divine decree. The Tower of Babel is not just an ancient tale, but a symbol of the limits of human ambition. It shows that no project built on pride can stand before God. Humanity was scattered, but the lesson remained. True greatness can only be found in humility and obedience to the Creator. The walls of Jericho, the dispersion of humanity, did not interrupt divine plans. Centuries passed, and a new people, chosen by God, marched toward the Promised Land. Yet, a colossal obstacle awaited them: the walls of Jericho. Imposing and impregnable, the city's walls were an impossible challenge for any army. According to the Bible, Jericho was the first city conquered by the Israelites under the leadership of Joshua. But the victory did not come through weapons or a prolonged siege. The people of Israel, following God's command, marched around the city for 7 days, and on the 7th day, at the sound of trumpets and shouts, the walls miraculously collapsed. This event not only secured Israel's victory, but also demonstrated that the conquest of the Promised Land would not depend on military strength, but on God's direct intervention. Jericho is considered one of the oldest cities in the world. Numerous archaeological excavations in the 20th century revealed that the city indeed had massive fortifications. One of the most significant discoveries occurred in the 1950s, when a Mexican archaeologist identified the remains of a large wall dating thousands of years before Christ. This discovery confirmed that Jericho was a well-protected city, making its sudden collapse all the more intriguing. The walls of Jericho were no ordinary barrier, but a highly sophisticated construction for its time. They consisted of a stone base on which mud bricks were erected, forming a fortress resistant to invasions. Additionally, archaeologists suggest that the city had a double wall system, further enhancing its defense. These features indicate that Jericho could not have been taken easily through conventional means. Studies indicate that the city suffered a sudden collapse, coinciding with the biblical account. Excavations point to a destructive event, possibly caused by an earthquake or other catastrophe. However, the way the walls fell and the absence of evidence of a prolonged siege leave researchers intrigued, making the biblical narrative even more remarkable. More than a military episode, the fall of Jericho symbolizes the power of faith and the fulfillment of divine promises. The story teaches that victory does not come only through human strength, but through obedience and trust in God. The city fell, but the lesson remained. Before any insurmountable wall, faith will always be the strongest weapon. The Palace of Solomon. The conquest of the Promised Land marked the beginning of a new era for Israel. Over the centuries, the people established a prosperous kingdom, and at its peak, a ruler emerged whose wisdom and wealth became legendary. Solomon, the son of David, built one of the most impressive palaces of antiquity, known as the House of the Forest of Lebanon, a symbol of the grandeur and power of his reign. The Palace of Solomon, located in Jerusalem, is described in the Bible as a magnificent structure, reflecting the king's opulence. Its name came from the massive cedar columns of Lebanon, which gave the interior a forest-like appearance. In addition to being a royal residence, the palace served as an administrative center and a reception hall for foreign emissaries. Its size and wealth underscored Solomon's position as an influential monarch whose fame spread far beyond Israel's borders. Although the palace has not been fully discovered, excavations in Jerusalem have revealed remains that may be linked to its construction. In the 1980s, archaeologist Eilat Mazar uncovered a massive structure in the city of David, which some scholars believe to be part of the royal complex from Solomon's time. The discovery included foundations of large buildings suggesting the existence of a monumental palace, further validating the biblical account of Solomon's grandeur. The grandeur of the palace was reflected in the choice of materials. Cedar wood, carved stones, and gold were used to create an environment of luxury and magnificence. The use of massive columns and ornate details made the structure stand out among other constructions of the time. Historical records indicate that Solomon forged trade alliances with King Hiram of Tyre, who supplied wood and skilled craftsmen for the project. The wealth and sophistication of the palace showcased not only the splendor of the kingdom, but also Israel's influence in the region. Beyond biblical records, Egyptian and Phoenician sources mention a prosperous kingdom in Israel during the 10th century BC, coinciding with Solomon's reign. The architecture uncovered in excavations suggests an advanced level of urban planning, characteristic of a powerful and organized civilization. The buildings from that era indicate strong governance and an administrative structure capable of erecting imposing edifices. The Palace of Solomon remains an archaeological enigma, but its importance goes beyond its physical existence. It symbolizes the wisdom and power of a king whose influence still resonates today. As excavations continue in Jerusalem, new clues may emerge, helping to uncover one of the greatest mysteries of biblical archaeology, the Temple of Solomon. The grandeur of Solomon's kingdom was not only reflected in his palace, but reached its zenith in an even more significant construction, the Temple of Solomon. More than just a monumental work, this sanctuary represented the spiritual center of Israel and the covenant between God and his people. Built in the 10th century BC, the temple became the spiritual heart of Israel, a sacred place where the faithful gathered for worship and sacrifices. Solomon, known for his wisdom and wealth, personally oversaw every detail of its construction to ensure the building not only reflected his grandeur, but also his devotion to the Creator. To build this unparalleled structure, the finest materials of the time were used. Hewn stones from selected quarries formed the temple's foundation, while cedar wood from Lebanon, brought through an agreement with King Hiram of Tyre, adorned the structure, providing a luxurious and durable finish. The ceilings and inner walls were covered in gold, giving the temple a nearly divine radiance. Moreover, carved wooden panels depicting cherubim, palm trees and flowers, all overlaid with pure gold, decorated the interior, enhancing the sacred atmosphere of the place. The most important part of the temple was the Holy of Holies, a space reserved for the manifestation of God's presence. Separated from the rest of the sanctuary by a richly embroidered linen veil with celestial figures, this room housed the Ark of the Covenant. Inside, two massive golden cherubim spread their wings over the ark, symbolizing the glory of God hovering over his people. It was such a sacred place that only the high priest could enter, and even then, only once a year on the Day of Atonement. After 7 years of construction, the temple was finally completed, and Solomon gathered the entire nation for an unprecedented dedication ceremony. The event was marked by a solemn prayer from the king, asking God to make his presence dwell there forever. As a sign of devotion, grand sacrifices were made: 22,000 oxen, 120,000 lambs, and 1,000 sheep. For 14 days, the people celebrated with prayers, praises, and festivities, witnessing the moment when God's glory filled the temple, a sign that he accepted the sanctuary as his dwelling among men. However, despite its magnificence and spiritual significance, the temple would not last forever. Centuries later, amid a period of crisis and the people's infidelity, the Babylonians invaded Jerusalem and destroyed the magnificent structure, leading the Israelites into exile. The impact of this loss was devastating, but the memory of the temple never faded. A second temple was built after the exiles returned, but it never reached the splendor of the first. Even so, the image of the Temple of Solomon remained an eternal symbol of faith, dedication, and the greatness of the past, leaving a spiritual legacy that endures to this day. If you enjoyed this content and want to continue exploring the hidden mysteries and stories of the Bible, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. This helps us bring you more videos like this and reach more people interested in the Bible. Switch on notifications so you don't miss out on upcoming content, and share this video with friends who might like it. See you next time.